Hey, I don't know if we're gonna have any more technical difficulties, but if we do, just have to adapt.
No, well, 4-1.
Oh,
Four
fact.
to,
Um, do me a favor before we start going into your young career. Tell us, the viewers, what 4-1 is and why it's important to your program and to coach.
so it started with Coach Bobby Knight, and 4 is to 1 as mental is to physical, and so it's you know just mental toughness, so to speak, and just the lack of better words, man. It's what we believe. We have a no excuse culture here at Texas Tech. It's something that Coach Beard got from Bobby Knight, but he's kind of made into his own. Throughout his head coaching journey, and something that Coach Berg and Coach Ogden and some other assistants have adopted as well, and hopefully one day I'll get a chance to adopt it as well. When I'm leading the program.
Absolutely. So have you guys been in instances where coach has or someone on the staff has reminded people what 4-1 is, and you can see the level of focus, aggression, urgency raised because of you guys saying that?
I mean, it's what we live by. It's plastered everywhere around our offices, our locker rooms. It's a hashtag on our social media outlets. It's something that we believe in deeply. Coach has it tattooed on his body, and it's crazy. We just had a manager, Bo, and we just added him, and he had 2 minutes to explain why he wanted to be a manager.
And yes,
Coach Beard gave him 2 minutes while Eminem's song "One Shot" was playing. And the first thing he did is took off his shirt and he showed his 4-1 tattoo on his chest, and everybody went crazy. So it was pretty cool.
well, that's crazy, but you got to find a way to separate yourself. You got to find a way for a coach to be like, yep, yep, because there's so many guys who want the spot. All right, I'm going 4-1. We're gonna turn this music on. No brainer. You got to now.
Yeah, we always say we hope that Bo ends up being like a big time high school coach or college coach, so we all can share that story, 20 years from now. So it'd be pretty cool.
Man, that's great. That's epic. All right, so what I want to do is I just want to jump into early career, and then we'll get back to Texas Tech and talk about why Texas Tech has been one of the best programs in the country. But I'm looking at your history, and I'm studying, and I'm trying to figure out what questions I want to ask Coach. And what stands out to me is kind of what stands out to some of the top players in the country, but is not the majority. And what I'm talking about is first of all, you knew at 15 that you wanted to coach at the college level,
Hmm.
and you took the steps to do it, and then you found a way to get a job at 21 years of age as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there's a lot of kids who are talented enough to just walk in and contribute, but there's also guys who you gotta figure the system out. You gotta learn how to play. You gotta get stronger. There's a lot of things that need to go into your opportunity. So when you knew at 15, first of all, how did you come to the conclusion that all right, this is what I want?
Uh, I mean, at a young age, I was blessed to have parents and, grandparents that really spoke life into me. I just recently lost my uncle, who was actually my very first coach, when I was 5, 6 years old, there in Charlotte, North Carolina, at, West Charlotte Recreation Center. And just at a young age, got a chance to see how my uncle Leroy, I guess, he really poured into the young youth. My mom was kind of a cornerstone of the neighborhood there in West Boulevard in Charlotte, at the West Boulevard Library. It's kind of like everybody's mother, growing up in Kings Park Apartments. And, it's kind of one of those things like I didn't want to be a librarian, but I wanted to impact young men's lives. And, I played varsity basketball in high school, but I knew I wasn't an NBA player. And my passion was coaching, at a young age, not that, there's anything wrong with coaching in the MEAC or the SWAC, because I'll be interested in coaching at any Division I school that would be interested in hiring me. But I always aspired to try to take a HBCU to the Final Four. And so I looked up to guys like Fane Mitchell, who was the head coach at Coppin State, and Coach Mitchell was, he was beating South Carolina in the NCAA tournament there at Coppin State. I mean, you led guys, Coach Murfield at Hampton at the time, and then also, even on the football side, Coach Eddie Robinson, man, was Hall of Fame coach, was impacting lives, was viewed as a father figure. And then also, even though it wasn't HBCU, I was like a lot of young kids. I thought Georgetown was a HBCU back in the day. And, you saw Coach John Thompson and the impact that he had. So, I just, at a young age, man, I was fortunate that, I knew exactly what my passion was. And, I never was afraid to go attack it.
And so at 15, you knew that, and then you started coaching in Dallas, Fort Worth, AAU.
Yeah, so my dad was a supervisor for American Airlines, and so we moved out to Arlington when I was 14 years old. My entire family went to West Charlotte High School, and we moved out to Arlington. I went to Arlington Bowie High School.
How long were you in Charlotte for?
Born and raised in Charlotte. Born and raised in Charlotte, and I moved to Arlington when I was 14. And so basketball-wise, man, I kind of refer to Dallas Fort Worth as home. I had my own AAU team when I was 17, 18 years old. And then I started coaching Premier AAU basketball on the Reebok side of things. We didn't have a Reebok circuit, but we were a Reebok team with the Dallas Mustangs, and Tony Johnson was our director. I was the head coach of the 15 under and assistant with the 17s. And, I did that for 3 years while I was, also serving as a head manager at Howard University for Coach Frankie Allen.
And then how'd you come? Tell me a manager story, a story about something that you did or did not do that when you think back would have been either beneficial or the opposite.
My manager experience was great, and obviously because I was coaching some of the top players in Texas and primarily in Dallas, I had, opportunities to go be head managers at a lot of the Big 12 schools. I realized at an early age that, the opportunity to be there in the MEAC, where we just didn't have as large of a staff as some of the other, mid to high major Division I schools was a great, it was a great chance for me, man, to get a chance to do a lot. I was very involved with running camp, film exchange. I played a part in helping prepare scouts. I helped with, in terms of setting up individual workouts and, academic schedules. And so I think, a lot of guys like to prefer themselves as student assistants, but, I was the head manager, but I probably was more student assistant than anybody else that's probably had that title.
You had any other managers with you?
Say it again.
Did you have any other managers with you?
We did. We had a few. Actually, one of our other managers is now the interim head coach at Austin P on the football side. And so Marquise was, he was big time, man. And his senior year, he ended up walking on for the football team. And, he wanted to be a football coach. And I'm like, man, why are you being a basketball manager? He was like, well, I think I may want to coach basketball too. So he ended up chasing his dream. He grew up as a Gator fan. And, it was pretty cool this spring to see him, appointed as the new interim head coach there at Austin P.
Let me ask you what, and I try to tell young guys all the time about presentation and first impression, and having etiquette when you're wherever. You could be going to the grocery store, you can go to the mall, you could be going to dinner with Barack Obama, but you have to carry yourself a certain way. So for young guys trying to get into the game or young guys trying to climb the ladder, what are some things that you would suggest in terms of just carrying yourself a certain way?
It's a good question. I always think, first impression, like you alluded to, man, is first impression is lasting. As a young coach trying to get in, especially coaching AAU, I would always try to dress like college coaches, and try to, present myself like a professional, and I still try to do that, even to this day. But, back then when I was trying to get in, I would have my shirt tucked in. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but when I realized that, a lot of coaches would, now it was okay for me to have my shirt untucked or, to wear a dry fit on the road, I did so, but I think you teach people how you want to be treated. And so, I think, the way you present yourself is everything, from, the way, some people may disagree, but even the way you present your hair and, and your clothing, the way just everything, I just think you got to be well groomed. You got to look like a coach. I think it's important to look the part.
Yeah.
Other thing I would say too is you're always interviewing. So you just never know, who you run into. I'm interviewing with you right now. You're interviewing with me. So like, I just feel like that's always been my thought process in life. You just never know, man. And a lot of times, man, we work on staffs with guys, and in 10 years, it's like you talked about you reaching out to me, you know, you just can never big time anybody, man. You just never know who's gonna be who. People that know me, man, they hear me say this all the time, but just be careful the feet you step on today, because they may be connected to that big butt you got to kiss tomorrow. And I believe that, and I try to treat people like I want to be treated. I didn't like when people big time me, and I try not to big time, others, man. I try to, be intentional with my time. I can't get back to everybody. But people that try to reach out to me, man, I try to get back to them in a timely manner. You email me, you'll probably never hear back from me, man. So, I'm getting better, but I still struggle with email.
It's tough. And just to piggyback on the presentation, me as a young coach trying to climb the ladder, and having the goal of coaching basketball at the highest level, I would always ask myself, would my father do it? How would my father dress? How would he look? And then when it comes to carrying yourself a certain way on social media, I would always ask, well, would Coach K do that? Would he post that? Would Roy Williams post that? And I think that's a strong gauge for young guys coming up. Is like, would these coaches who you want to be in their shoes do that? Now, there's a fine line where it's like, I know those guys are older and they've been coaching for however many years, and this is just a different time. However, you still want to be in their shoes. So that presentation and really trying to showcase yourself in the best manner is so very important.
Ray, you make a good point, but I think more so than, if Coach K would post it, it's like, would Coach K be okay hiring me if he saw me posting that? Because I may not think the same way as Coach K, right? But like my dream employer, would I want that AD or that head coach, or that search firm, or would I be okay? Am I putting my best foot forward? And so I do the same. I try to, anything that I have on social media, obviously, if you've probably scrolled back to when I was 21 to now 36, you probably can tell that I've matured. But I still, even when I was 21, 22, I didn't post anything that, I would regret today. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You go from UT Arlington to Stephen F. Austin to Houston to SMU to A&M to now Tech, and you never had to leave your state.
It's been a blessing, man.
I know.
It's been and the crazy thing is, Ray, like even getting into the business, I used to tell my wife, we met at Howard University, and I would make up these schools in my mind. Like, I'm just telling, like, we don't need to be this serious. Like, I'm telling you, like, I'm gonna be a GA at, University of Wyoming, or I'm gonna be at Idaho State, and she'd be like, I don't care. Like, I go out there too, and so, I just been fortunate, man. I've been blessed, man, and network with a lot of AAU coaches and high school coaches, and people in the state have grown to like me and trust me. I've been on some great staffs where we've gotten a chance to accomplish a lot, and I've been fortunate to win everywhere I've been. And God has blessed me, man, with opportunities to continue to climb up the ladder. And so I've been open to leaving the state. It frustrates me that people think that I'm only a Texas recruiter. So it's been great to be here at Texas Tech with such a national brand, and working for and with what I consider one of the best coaches in the country, and we have a national brand and getting the chance to recruit not just the best players in the country, but some of the best players in the world.
Absolutely. So some coaches don't want to be put in a hole, especially coaches who want to coach, who want their own program, who want to be looked
Yeah.
at in a certain light. And I know that you've been touted as a recruiter. And what are some of the things that along the way you really honed in on and knew that you needed to improve so that at some point when someone has a job opportunity, they're just not saying Ulric is a recruiter.
I think, my ability to recruit was the way that I got into the business, and everybody gets into it different. You have coaches that specialize in player development. You got guys that are unbelievable at scouting. Some guys that are just extremely organized, and they'll have a niche at running camps and, whatever your case is. For me, it was my ability to build relationships, genuine relationships, evaluate talent. But I refuse to be put in a box. People that try to put me in a box, that's on them. I grow every day. I'm not the same guy that I was yesterday, and so I think I just been intentional with my development. When I started coaching, obviously I'm not the basketball mind that I am today, in terms of, as a tactician. A lot of that comes from just the coaches that I've been blessed to work with. When you get a chance to work with, I think every coach that I've worked for has been a conference coach of the year, at least one or two conferences. So, I've been fortunate. I worked for 3 Hall of Famers. And so it's one of those things, man, like, I'm very competitive, and so when guys tell me that I can't do something, it's like, I can't wait to prove them wrong. I always, I'm just trying to, one of my brothers, man, Alvin Brooks III at Baylor, he has a company right now, be ready. And so that's always kind of been our motto, and so it's just like, man, if you prepare every day, then you're going to be prepared for that opportunity, and so, I just have been intentional about my development, Ray, like, every day, just trying to improve in every facet, of the business. To one day, first and foremost, Ray, I want to help Texas Tech win a national championship, and then everything takes care of itself from there. And so, but when I get my opportunity, I want an AD, a president, the role that, I can run a program, I can be a CEO, but, I can also be an incredible head coach and win.
Absolutely. What you said, Confetti dreams, right?
Absolutely.
We need those. Bro, we need those.
Nothing like it, man. I gotta experience it. Man. My alarm clock is one shining moment, man. Big Luther, not little Luther, big Luther. One shining moment.
Yo, it's coming, bro. It's coming for sure. All right, let's go in a different direction. Let's talk about the recruiting process, and let's talk about the recruiting process from what Texas Tech is looking for in a player when they're AAU, high school. What are the things that stand out, or the things that you guys are looking for your program, but also as an individual? And I know it's taken time for you to get to a point where you feel really comfortable about the things the attributes that you're looking for, whether it be physical, or from a mental aspect. But like, what are you looking for from a program standpoint and from a individual standpoint?
It's a good question. So from a program standpoint, man, I think, obviously we run motion. And so a lot of people call us and say, hey, man, this guy's a big time defensive guy. They'll call Coach Adams or, Coach Beard or myself and, talk about, this guy being a great defensive player. But, in actuality, man, we're looking for great offensive guys, and we'll teach them how to play defense. We're looking for guys that can think and play, that have high IQs, that's been coached. Those guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot, high skilled guys, they come in and they can thrive, pretty easily in our system. And then if they're coachable, and they're smart players, then, defensively, man, we feel like we'll be able to teach them what they need to know on the defensive end. I think, having guys that are long and athletic, that, have some versatility. We look for positionless players. And big men, we love to have guys that are airspace guys. And if they're not above the rim guys, great shot blockers, then we like for them to be guys that, traditionally can step out and stretch the defense where we can play 5-out motion and be really, really hard to guard and hard to prepare for. But having guys that have that type of versatility is, I think very key. In terms of
What about mentality?
yeah, individually, I mean, we look for guys that are tough, that have been coached, that are winners. Ray, it used to be a time, man, obviously guys have to be talented, but, it's that coach that says everything in the conversation, right? I'm recruiting one of your guys and he says, well, you're the perfect guy, for this kid, man. If he was in y'all's situation, man, he would be able to figure it out, he'll mature, he needs to be in a situation where he can mature and keep developing as a person. And he was around all those, hardworking guys. We're not really looking for that guy. We're recruiting guys that the principal, the counselors, the high school coaches, their mentors are raving about them. You know what I mean? Like, Bojangles is my favorite restaurant. But if you've never been to Bojangles, if you talk to me, I'm a rave about Bojangles. So when you get to Charlotte, when you get off the plane, you're like, I got to go get that Bowberry biscuit. And that sweet tea.
No.
You see what I'm saying? Same thing with Price's Chicken Coop. They don't know nothing about Price's Chicken Coop. You may not even been there. But if you've never been, Ray, you got to go to Price's Chicken Coop and you would thank me later. See, I'm raving about it. See, you see what I'm saying? So the players that their coaches rave about, we have a team right now, man. We got, 14 guys on our team that all of their coaches rave about them. We rave about them. They're fun to be around, and so, with 13 for, 14 for 14 and, 13 scholarship guys where, these guys can all play, but they're all big time kids. So at 2:00 at night, our guy's not perfect, but at 2:00 at night, I'm not worried about us getting a phone call, from the chief of police, And so I've been in situations like that, where, and character matters. We have real culture here, Ray. And so we recruit to our culture. Guys that come to Texas Tech want two things. It's not one or the other. Guys want to aspire to be NBA players and they want to win a national championship. It's both. We don't want the guy that wants to go to the NBA and wants to take advantage of our ability to develop guys, but they could care less if they play in the NBA. Win a national championship. We want guys that want both, and a lot of times, man, I would rather get that kid, Ray, that is on that state championship team that averaged 14 points a game than that kid that was on a 500 team and averaged 30 points a game, and so that's taking some time. It's taking some maturity. But the last thing is, and I don't think, a lot of kids and families realize how much intel, championship programs like a Texas Tech do. This is our livelihood, man. And I say it all the time, like it's not AAU, it's how we eat, it's how we survive. And, it's, we're protective, very protective of our culture here.
Yeah. The benefit and the blessing is that certain programs that have that type of culture are able to recruit that kid, because when you're elsewhere, you got to take chances because you got to try to win. You got to try to win some games. So to be in a position where you can recruit that specific kid, that just means the kid who's super talented, who's got things going on off the court that just don't benefit or fit the characteristics of what you're looking for. They're just going to have to go to wherever they're going to go. They can go play 35 minutes, but they're not going to win no games. And that's fine.
Yeah. But Ray, I don't mean to cut you off, but I tell you, if people think it's because we're high major, it has nothing to do with that. I think it's something that starts at the top. When I was at Stephen F. Austin, I was blessed to be a part of the staff when we went to the tournament for the first time in school history, NIT first time in school history. And when I worked for Danny Casper, he asked me a question as a young assistant. He said, Ulric, if you owned a business, okay, and this small business, this family business was the way you provided for your family, before you recommend me, before you recommend a kid to me for us to recruit, would you hire that guy to help run that business? And when you put it in that perspective, right, it changes your mindset, because now that's a whole different type, it's a different type mentality, and so, I've always kind of carried that with me. I think along my career, though, I lost track of that because I've worked for some head coaches that it was all about talent, and we just wanted to try to out-talent guys. And so it's been refreshing, man, to kind of be back with Coach Beard, a guy like Coach Beard that, you know, that puts a value on that, and the staff really, because I mean, we all as a staff, we believe a lot of those things. We're very aligned when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Um, Talk to me about quickly parents and their role that they play in the recruiting process, and what are some things that are to do when it comes to just letting the process, but also at the same time facilitating the process and helping the process along, rather than talk about the negative things that happen on a day to day. But like, what are the positive things that if you have a top player or you have a kid who's got tremendous upside and there's X, Y, and Z schools that are interested, how can I help rather than hurt
As a parent,
as a parent?
you know, I think honesty, you know, and it's hard too because I think you know, you're going through the process. I think a lot of parents think that if they tell a school no too early, then they don't want to burn that bridge or they don't want that school to be mad. But in actuality, I would prefer that you go ahead and tell me that you're not interested or your son's not interested, so then I can you know, move to the next recruit. Um, but when we get a kid, you know, if we're blessed to get the kid, I think it's the parents that support the coaching staff, you know, have been the ones that, you know, it's a trust, right? You know, hopefully you don't let your kid go to a school you don't trust. And so if we're fortunate enough to get your kid, you know, support us. Know that we're trying to win. So we tell you little Johnny's not playing hard. Hopefully you don't just take little Johnny's word for it. You're like, hey man, those coaches say you're not playing hard. Like you're not practicing. You know, you're not in the gym doing that, you know, extra work, you know. And so for us to, I think it takes a village. You know, it's not just on us and it's not just on the kid and the parents. Like it's a group effort to help this kid fulfill his dreams. So I think just that trust, you know, when you know, but you know, I think great communication going through the process, I think is very vital. You know, and I know it's tough, man, because there's a lot of coaches out there that are, you know, are not very forthcoming themselves, and so, you know, I just think
That's
I think that's probably the biggest. Say it again.
I said I think that some coaches are like that in certain programs is because they think they got it like that, where I don't necessarily need to answer to, or we're going to do this on my time and this is how it's going to be. And I just don't know how beneficial that is in the long run, especially if we're talking about building strong bonds and relationships.
Yeah, you know, I think we pride ourselves in having like a truth telling culture is what Coach Beard calls it, you know, and so you know, every day here now it's not going to be peachy keen. None of us are perfect, but you know, just I think, you know, the truth always sets you free, you know, and you know, people know, most people know when you're kind of BSing them, and you know, I think you could just be real and transparent and genuine, you know. I just think it takes you so far. You know, I think kids know, man. They know when you really care about them. Parents know when you care about their kids. You know, I just think being invested in them that way and always, you know, having a great line of communication both ways, you know, it helps the situation.
Absolutely. All right, I got a little bit more for you, a few more. The question that I would have, you've been in the game for 20 plus years or been around the game for 20 plus years. You've seen kids who have overachieved. You've seen kids who have underachieved.
You
You've seen great college basketball players. You've seen great college basketball players that their game couldn't translate strong enough in the NBA. And then you've seen your pros. What
know.
are some of the um, attributes that your pros have had, or your guys who have overachieved have had, um, that you were just blown away by, and the the reason why they ended up where they ended up at was because of those special characteristics.
Yeah, no, great question. Just you know, so I'll say, you know, in my 14 years of coaching, I've been blessed. You know, Jemias Ramsey will make 17 guys that I've coached or recruited that have played in the NBA, and everybody has a different path. You know, you have those few guys that just, you know, exceptional talents, you know, and regardless of their work ethic, man, they're going to have a chance to play in the NBA. But these other guys, the guys I've been most proud of are the guys like Sterling Brown that I coached at SMU, that I can confidently say is probably the most competitive guy I've ever coached. Um, like he was so competitive, we couldn't keep score in practice, right? Like, I mean, he
I
was competitive, and, he came in to SMU, very underrated. Came in a class with the McDonald's All-American. They both were freshmen. The McDonald's All-American was extremely talented, but he came in and beat him fair and square. But that made that kid that was a McDonald's All-American, made him better, because his sophomore year, he turned around and they both were starting, and so, he was mad. I remember Coach Brown his freshman year told him he was a ball mover, right? And I love coaches, that are, direct, that really teach shot selection.
mhm.
And Larry Brown had told him, say, Sterling, like, I don't mind you playing, but you're a defensive guy, like, and you're a ball mover. And I remember him coming to my office like, Coach, man, like, I can shoot.
Mhm.
Like, what is he, and the dude literally locked himself in the gym, and he turned himself into the 50+% 3-point shooter that he became at SMU. It's the all-time winningest player in SMU history. So, I just think this competitiveness, his work ethic, a lot of times those guys have, it's the best. They're the best. They're the hardest worker that I've ever, coached. They never lost a sprint in 4 years that they were here. They always were in the gym. When the ball stopped, I mean, so like even this year, like, Jemias Ramsey, he turned himself into an elite shooter. Like that dude would spend a lot of time in the gym, shooting. He watched more film than probably anybody on our team, but just as much, and so, he was intentional about his development. So, I think I think that's probably the characteristic is just the work ethic, the drive, the competitiveness, the willingness to want to, the hungriness to be great. Like they want to be the best. They want to prove people wrong. They know that they have a chance to play in the NBA. They really believe in themselves. But as a coaching staff, we've empowered them too, right? Like we believe in them too, and they've just taken off.
Yeah, I agree. Um, this is a two-part question. And it's for the young guys who are trying to continue to develop, and some are working as hard as they possibly can, and they know it. Some are working as hard as they possibly can, and they think they are. And there's
Yeah.
guys who just don't understand what it's supposed to look like because they've never been taught or they've never been held accountable to do so. And sometimes it's like, dang, his father's making him do that again. But it's a gift and a curse. Uh,
Hmm.
so, like, what does a freshman at Texas Tech schedule look like from like a day to day? But like, what are we working on? How are we eating? How much time are we spending on the gym? What are we doing in the gym? How many days a week? And then what, from a comparable standpoint, does it need to look like for a kid who is 15 years old and he's trying to improve on his game as a whole?
Okay. Really loaded question.
I know.
Uh,
Steph, you do a good job.
so, at Texas Tech, I would say, man, we call it around here, Ray, the process. And the process comprised of, practice, individual workouts, shooting, film study, um, rest and recovery, training room, strength conditioning, um,
All day.
all of those things, nutrition,
All,
hydrating all day, and so, our guys have what we call a KD schedule, and it's a very detailed schedule without just getting too wordy. Well, guys will sit down and literally, we encourage them to kind of map out their day, and so, um, obviously NCAA rules, we only have but so many hours we can work with these guys. But they can volunteer to do as much as they want. A lot of times they just need the structure. They need to have the know-how. And so a lot of times, we have the plan, but, these kids don't get enough credit for executing the plan. And so, we can't make them, go back to the gym at, 11 o'clock at night. But the stories, like I didn't coach Zaire Smith, but the stories of Zaire Smith and Jerry Culver are crazy, it's funny, I was talking with Matt McClung, earlier, he was just talking about, just the guys, here at Texas Tech, man, just their commitment level, and
Hold.
and everybody wants to win, and I think our guys feel that, and that, I think it's from our head coach all the way down to our last manager. Like everybody's committed to winning and doing everything we can to win a national championship, but also, man, everybody's committed to the person to the left and the right being successful too,
Mm-hmm.
and pouring into those guys. So to be in an environment like that is a blessing. For that individual that's 15 years old, I've coached their guys in AAU where parents really put a lot of pressure on that kid, and the parents wanted it more than the kid, and it kind of burnt them out. I don't have any kids, but if I'm blessed to have a son, it won't be a deal where I'm forcing him to go to the gym. Really, I wouldn't even care if he played basketball. I just want him to be a productive citizen and, look you in your eye when he talks to you and shake your hand and say thank you and yes, ma'am, yes, yes, sir, no, sir, you know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, like, I think, too many of these adults put too much pressure on. I don't know if I have an exact time. I think if the kid is exposed to what real work looks like, you don't have to be in the gym 3 hours. I think, you can get done, with a guy like yourself, 45 minutes, what, some guys are staying in the gym 3 hours to do. You know what I mean? I think if you're working, smart and efficient, it's a way where you can really get your work in and, get in and get out, so, I guess quality over quantity, so to speak,
What are,
and load management, I think, is big too,
what do they need? Sorry to cut you off. What do they need,
Oh,
and what should they be looking for in a player development coach?
yeah, I mean, I think I can explain it, but I think it's still going to be hard because, if I sit and I explain to you, man, a coach that, is going to honestly, give you the details, right? The know-how, that they really understood, just for example, all the different reads off pick and roll, and really broke that down and what that looked like, and, be consistent with the way he taught footwork because there's a million ways to do it. But, like here at Texas Tech, we believe in one way of, shooting the basketball, and we believe in shooting it the same way every single time. And so we're convicted on the things that we teach. I think a lot of these guys, they talk a good game, but it's hard for the parents to really understand if that coach really knows what he's talking about. So, I would, if I didn't know, I would really want to know like coach's background. Is he holding my kid accountable? I think a lot of these kids have too many trainers that are yes men, and even in the recruiting process, we try to stay away from those guys, man, that, we want to be truth tellers. We have fun doing what we do, but, my head coach is hard to play for, and I'm not scared to say it. I mean, he's not, I think, but if you're trying to be great, you want to be pushed and challenged, guys that don't want to be pushed and challenged and told the truth, we don't want them in our program no way. You know what I mean? Like, I came to Texas Tech because I wanted to be pushed and challenged. So I think when you work and find these trainers, some guys that's going to, hold you accountable. They really know what they're talking about. They can really teach the game, that are doing drills that are going to be able to translate to live action. They're breaking the games down. Hopefully you got a trainer that can watch film with you too, because I think a lot of these trainers miss out on that opportunity to really teach the game through video as well. Kids, man, they learn in different ways. You got some guys that, you can show them through video and they got it. You got some guys you can, I've coached guys, you show them on the whiteboard, you draw it up for them, they get it. You got other guys, they need to walk through it, walk through plays or drills, with managers and they have it, So I think it's, realizing, how each athlete learns, and a trainer that understands that and not try to teach everybody the same, So I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does. I think it all helps people understand, if not specifically, at least a ballpark of what the things that they should be looking for. Especially, the kids trying to continue to improve, and then the parents who, it's tough for parents. And I think one thing that you said that stood out to me, and I have these thoughts and conversations all the time, is if I had a child, I wouldn't necessarily make them play basketball. Well, people come from different backgrounds, people got different
yep,
views, people have different goals, and those are the things that some people just is ballers like for real. for real, for better or for worse. I had a conversation with somebody online or people online the other day on Twitter. Somebody said that, and I agree. Like there shouldn't be zone being played when you're playing 10U. I agree. I do agree. I do agree. However, in some of the environments that I've seen with these kids who are extremely skilled, who have parents who are hard on them, and they go to the Final Four Nationals for 10U. Sometimes I can't believe my eyes how talented these kids are. So
Mm-hmm.
my question would be like, what do you feel about that topic as far as playing zone or 1-2-2 back into a 2-3 and et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. Uh, uh, Compared to man, where obviously you want to learn how to guard, you want to learn man principles, you want to know where my help side is, you want to know all these things that come with playing man that they don't get all those reps in because people want to win, and we know that if we go 1-2-2 to 2-3, we got a chance to really have them taking bad shots. So, what's your thought about it? And that's the question.
Yeah, I think in recruiting, you have a lot of these summer events where they ban, even at the high school level, they ban you playing 2-3 zone or any type of zone. Um, and to be able to guard Imano and see who can really guard, I think is important. But guys that have been around successful zones know that until you, I believe, until you're a very good man defensive team, it's hard to really be a great zone defensive team. And so I don't mind when teams play zone when we're playing with a shot clock, right? You play on the UIBL or Adidas or Under Armour circuit, or even some of these high schools that play with a shot clock. I think it's great, because now we get a chance to see, who understands time and score, who can, handle changing defenses, the whole nine. What I hate, is when there's no shot clock and then you have a team that just sits back in the zone the entire time. And I'm trying to figure out if, they pack it in, to a tight 2-3 zone. And I think it's harder to evaluate if that kid can really guard, and how competitive they are. You know what I mean? So I don't know. When I'm out, like I said, if it's a regular AAU team with a regular AAU game or high school game with no shot clock, I would like for them to play man to man. That's what I would prefer. Just being honest.
Well, yeah, because you need to know they can guard.
Yeah, yeah,
You get over a ball screen. Are
yeah.
what's going on? I got a question. We got a question from Jiggy Ja. He's asking, what should kids do, student athletes do to help the recruiting process, and should they wait to reach out to coaches?
I think, man, win. I know it sounds so cliche, but I think when you win, attention comes. There's so many scouting services now all over the country. I take Dallas for example. I know when I started coaching AAU, we had nobody covering Dallas, Fort Worth, which was crazy to me. And now we probably have too many guys covering Dallas, Fort Worth. And so I think it's a lot harder to kind of go under the radar, even though it happens. I think we've been fortunate to sign some guys that have kind of flown under the radar, but I think that, if you do reach out to coaches, I think I would encourage you to, it's okay to maybe send a game highlight, some highlights from your games, but I think I would also encourage you to send, 3 to 5 full games as well. What I tell kids all the time is, if I watch the highlight and Ray, I'm not fired up by the highlight, I'm probably not going to go to the full games, but if the highlights can fire me up, then, I'm excited in that 3 to 5 minutes, then I'll go to the full games and watch, so.
No problem, coach. If you ain't
Yep.
fired up,
But Ray, even though in that full games though, like you got to give that coach matchups. So you think you can play at that level? If you think you can play in the Big 12, well, send me 4 games against a kid that's committed to another high major team or another high major recruit. Show me that matchup where you won that matchup and you outplayed that individual. You know, don't show me a game versus me. You know, maybe you know, show me a game versus Ray Crossman. You know, don't show me a game versus me, because I don't want to see you, you know, giving me 30. You know.
Yeah, I think another thing is for the recruit question is, yes, send the film, but make sure your film is put together where you're not just shooting 3-pointers, spot threes, and foul shots. Like, what are you doing in your clips to show that you can make your teammates better?
Yeah.
Can you score on all three levels? Are you defending? Are you getting steals? Are you assisting? But you have to do something in your film that stands out to a coach, especially in good programs, that is going to make them want to follow up. And it doesn't mean you don't want to. You want to impress the assistant coach, but the assistant coach needs to put something in front of the head coach that is
No doubt.
time. So, you know,
Well, Ray,
go ahead, coach.
well, I was going to say it's almost like we talked about the young assistant trying to break in and like what his niche is. Well, when you put together a team, it's the same thing. Like, you know, it's you know, we're trying to build a championship team. You know, it's kind of like a championship puzzle, so to speak. Like, you can't have 5 corner pieces. You know, you only can have 4. You know, and so like, what do you do to hang your hat on? It's not that all you can do is rebound, or all you can do is block shots, or all you can do is, you know, make people better and break a defense down and make the right read when you get to the secondary defense. But it's like, I think, you know, what are you doing to impact winning? Like, what do you hang your hat on, like, that you know you're going to play? You know, are you an elite defender? Are you an elite shooter? You're an elite ball handler, you know, or are you a jack of all trades, you know? And so solid is okay too. Like, some guys, like, solid wins. You know, if a guy is a solid shooter, solid ball handler, solid defender, he doesn't make mistakes, I'm taking that dude all day, every day. You know, and so
you say solid across the board, and then the last question is, well, can he shoot it? So you could be,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But like, I agree with what you're saying. And
if you can't shoot nowadays, man, I think you got to be exceptional in something else. You know, like, you know, for us, it's at least at those 4, you know, perimeter spots, we're really looking for guys that can shoot. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. We want guys that can shoot. You know, and we're looking for guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. We want them to be able to do all 3, which is really tough. But if you're going to be, you know, specialize on one, it needs to be, you know, shooting. You know, now if you can find, you know, for me personally, if I'm, you know, blessed enough to find, you know, when I'm a head coach, I don't mind having a point guard that's just a decent shooter, but he's phenomenal at breaking down the defense. He can get to the paint. And he can make everybody better. He's smarter than every coach on the staff. And he knows you know, he don't turn it over. You know, his assist to turnover ratio was crazy. And elite defender. He affects culture. He affects winning. He's a big time leader. I'm taking that dude all day, every day. Like, real point guards are hard to find. I don't care what, and it's not the size. You know, it's a mentality. It's a, you know, it's an approach to the game. Yeah, you know, you know, so I think those guys are very, very rare. And so if you can find one of those guys, man, I think you gotta. The teams where I've been a part of, where we had a special point guard, you know, we've cut the ladder, coach. The Confetti dreams, you know, we get a chance to climb up the ladder, and, you know, we won championships.
Much more confidence when you take the court.
Say it again.
Much more confidence when you take the court.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
For the young guys, and I hope I'm going to try to get this out to as many young guys as we can for them to listen. Tell me about the green light at Texas Tech, and what the green light entails for guys to have that.
The Green Light Club?
Green Light Club.
The Green Light Shooter, okay. So we basically, you know, we have
because everybody thinks they can shoot.
Yeah, no question. So, you know, I love the way Coach does it. We keep stats in practice every day. We post it everywhere. It's in our film room. It's in our locker room. It's in the hallways. It's in our offices, as you know, our coaching offices. And so our guys are always looking at their stats. Our coaching staff are always looking at the stats, and we keep stats of live action, but also, you know, we go through an individual workout. You know, we see if are you making. We tell our guys you should be making 60-65% of your shots that are wide open. And we believe, in live action, that number is going to come down probably 40%, And so the other thing, we call the Green Light Club. We have a staple in our program called the Ray Allen drill. And a lot of teams do this. It's a big drill in the NBA as well. We put 2 minutes on the clock. You start in the corner. You shoot it all 5 spots. But, Ray, you have one passer, one rebounder. The clock starts on the first shot. You got to make 2 in a row from the corner to go to the wing, 2 in a row from the wing, go to the top of the key, to the wing, to the corner. For our guards to get back out of that corner in the opposite corner, right, Ray? You got to make 4 threes in a row to get back to the wing and go to the top of the key, wing, corner. For our forwards, you got to make 2 in a row twice. That makes sense. So you get in you get to the 5th spot, you're in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. So essentially that's the 5th and the 6th spot. All right. If you're a forward, you got to make 2 in a row twice to come back to the wing. For guards, you got to make 4 in a row to come back around, which is a little tougher. And you have to get all the way back around 10 spots essentially in 2 minutes. We believe if you can make that drill anytime we call your name, then you're a green light shooter. Yeah, you're a green light shooter. There's nothing to debate, and so it's something, we have guys that can go through that drill. They can make 50% of their shot, but they may not make that drill. But the standard of that drill makes it so tough that, it's an expectation, right? And so, we don't really have to talk much. When guys come in, they say, well, man, you let Johnny shoot the ball. Well, he's a green light shooter. I mean, he proves it, and sometimes we'll even go 1 minute Ray Allen drill. So just 5 spots, and you got to make, 5 spots in a minute. Yep. So it's a good drill, though.
Yeah, that's tough. And you need those guidelines because kids will shoot it. And if you shoot it, you got to come sit next to me, dude.
Well, it helps with shot selection. So if you want to be able to shoot that shot, then, work on it. You got to get in the gym to be in a part of the Green Light Club, and so it's a big deal. When guys make it, man, we send in the group text and, guys have made it for the first time and everybody's excited for them and the whole nine. Then you got guys, Kyler Edwards, he made, he was shooting on his own the other day. They said he made the Ray Allen drill 8 times in a row. Ray, that's shooting the ball. He couldn't have done that last year. And so it's very impressive. A guy like TJ Shannon, who, people guarded as a Clarger last year, and I hope they guard him as a Clarger again this year, but he can consistently make the Ray Allen drill, and so now his deal is, can he make it within a minute 45? Can he make it in a minute 30? And it kind of raised the expectations for him, and so, but it's a fun drill, something that they really get into and they compete.
His question is going to be, can he make it when the lights come on?
Absolutely. And then, the lights are on when Coach Beard calls your name. The lights are on.
And then
it's a little different making it with the managers than when Coach Beard calls your name in practice.
No doubt. Dudes get tight. Dudes get tight. All right. Tell me what you think about first thought that comes to your mind when I say these names. Scott Cross.
Thankful, man. Thankful. He was a coach that believed in me, probably the first coach to really believe in me, and a guy that I built a genuine relationship with when I was coaching AAU. Obviously, man, he was hired when he was 21. A lot of coaches in this business promise a lot of things, but he told me at a young age when he got a head job, he was going to hire me, and he came through, man. I'll never forget it, man. I was at Howard that spring of my senior year. I didn't accept the job until the end of the summer because I was actually deciding of going UTA or being a grad assistant here at Texas Tech because Chris Beard had, been instrumental in me getting a GA job here with Coach Bobby Knight. But yeah, no, I was very, very thankful for Scott Cross, one of the best recruiters in the country I've ever encountered.
Coach Danny Casper.
Another guy that's been very instrumental in my development, especially as a coach. I got with them. I literally had no feel for really, reading X and O's or drawing up X and O's. I got a chance to deliver my very first scouting report with him and grew in that role. He consistently gave me, schools to scout. And I felt like over the 3 years, I continued to get better there. But, in terms of running my first drills as a college coach, scouting and, learning X's and O's and, starting that process of really thinking as a coach, he gave me my foundation. And obviously, man, I was blessed to see how to run a program and we won at a high level. And, was blessed to be a part of recruiting some very good players there, Stephen.
All right, we got a minute and a half, so I need you to run these off.
Okay.
Larry Brown.
Elite. Made me, he made me he began the process of really making me the future head coach that I'm gonna be. And we built SMU from the dead. A legend, Godfather.
Coach Dickey.
Mr. Everything, man. I mean, taught me how to deal with the media. Great coach, obviously, the Eddie Sutton disciple. Just the most genuine person I've ever been around.
Bill Kenny.
Who's that?
Bill Kenny. We got 1 minute.
Man, helped me with my faith. Made me a better coach, better husband, better future father, better mentor for sure. Underrated coach. Been the coach of the year in 5 different leagues.
Coach Beard.
Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. He'll be the second coach to ever win an NBA championship and an NCAA championship. You heard it here first.
Confetti Dreams. Bro,
Confetti Dreams.
I appreciate you coming on the Trophy Room. First installment. We absolutely 100% have to do it again. I love you. I appreciate you. I wish you well. Thank you. All right.
I appreciate you for having me on, man. God bless.
Talk to you soon.
All right, my man.